Hi, everybody. My name is Mia Kogavia. Welcome to Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop's Melanated Mondays. Um, so, um, this episode is going to be co-emceed by myself and by my lovely colleague, co-artistic producer Tim Craig. So let's talk a
Hello,
little bit.
hello.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about ourselves. Oh, you know what? Sorry. Can we pause? Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. My name is Mia Kogavia, and welcome to Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop. Um, so this is our Melanated Monday series, a monthly Melanated Monday series. I'm gonna start talking about myself a little bit. I have brown skin. I have curly hair that's like half up, half down, shoulder length. I'm wearing like a black and white patterned dress, and I'm currently waving at all of you. I'm waving at all of you, and I'm waving at our lovely cast and crew today. Today's Melanated Mondays, they're waving as well. Today's Melanated Monday is going to be co emceed by myself and my lovely colleague Tim Craig. So let's talk a little bit about BRTW. So, BRTW's mission is we exist to disrupt any and all oppressive systems that marginalize Black people using narrative and performance as a methodology to recenter Black people and experiences. With economic, social, educational, healthcare, housing, and political injustice facing our community, BRTW aims to tackle the issues that impact us while becoming a beacon for Black opportunity within the arts. Melanated Mondays itself is a monthly writing and performance salon highlighting a different theme at the intersection of Black justice and civic engagement. This programming was made possible in part with support from the Brooklyn Arts Council, Alliance of Resident Theaters New York, and the support of our community. This month's theme is Sex and Erotic Capital. So, a little bit about the theme. Pretty privilege isn't a joke. Erotic capital impacts all of our lives. Colorism, texturism, sizism, and classism all impact the Black spirit or experience of erotic capital. Tonight's speaker is Phanésia Pharel. Am I pronouncing that right?
Phanésia Pharel.
Phanésia. Oh, sorry. Phanésia Pharel. Phanésia Pharel is a playwright from the great state of Florida and even greater city of Miami. Grounded in poetry and Afrofuturism, she often writes about the divine metaphysical dilemma of colored girlhood. Her plays span revolutions, islands, and explores futures built on love by centering women's pleasure, safety, and joy, aka hopeful and magical survivor stories for the young, poor women, colored, and those audacious enough to be all of the above. The performances today, we're going to have three pieces that will be read by our lovely cast. The first one is Queens by Mia Kogavia. The second one is You're My Last Little Girl, May Mobley by Yvette Heiliger. Heiliger. And the last one is Not Yet by H. Harvey. So, let's see. Without ado, we're going to get started. Just a brief note, I guess, actually, before we get started, I just want to thank our cast, crew, and production team, our funders, and this program is free to you to watch, but it is not free for us to make. We at BRTW, even though we're a very small theater company, we believe in paying our artists, our collaborators, and our administrators. So this program and our writers. So this program is not free to produce. So if you find it in your heart or in your pockets to donate to us, please do. I will put some donation information at the end of this program. And also you can feel free to check out our links that we have linked to this video and you can donate. So let's get started. I will hand this off to Tim Craig.
Hey, hello everyone. I want to first of all take this time to thank the cast for being here. A lovely cast will be featured is Kimberly Ekpo, Takai McCullough, Melvin Cox, and Mia Kogavia. Thank you all for lending your talents. We really, really appreciate you. Without further ado, we'll go into the first piece here, written by Mia Kogavia, entitled Queens. The cast is as follows. Mia Kogavia will be reading Kelly. Takai will be reading the director. Akimini will be reading the character of Sue, and Melvin Cox will be reading your stage directions. Thank you so much.
A white actress wearing ancient Egyptian garb stands on stage. Behind her is a smattering of various background actors. Only one or two are Black.
Know you this, my royal subjects. Egypt will not fall this day. We shall defend it to the death against the alien hordes and continue to prosper as we have done for centuries before. As Aten as my witness, I, Queen Nefertiti, will guide you. No golden lizard beings will end our way of life. Now onward, my people, onward to victory.
Hi.
Kelly,
Great job, Kelly. Really brilliant work. Let's print that and break for lunch.
Kelly takes off her wig, shakes out her long blonde hair, and walks to the craft service table. A Black actress walks up next to her.
That was great.
Thanks.
Sue goes to grab a muffin.
Is this your first time working on set?
Oh, yeah, definitely. This is my first real gig, actually. Only background, but it's a step, and one small step leads to one giant leap, or something like that.
I'm asking because, well, background usually doesn't eat first. Crew and talent do, and then background.
Oh, sorry.
She puts the muffin back.
It's okay.
You were really great out there.
Thanks again.
Oh, sorry. I already said that and said sorry again. Whew, I'm really nervous.
Really, it's fine. My first day on a film set, I was nervous too. You remember Ultimate Geisha?
The one where you were a British socialite turned geisha turned ninja?
Yep, that one. I stepped on set, the camera started rolling, and I just about had a panic attack.
Oh wow, you?
I know, right? Everyone thinks of me as this force, this super confident yet relatable beauty, but really I'm flesh and blood too. I wanted to do well in this part for feminism.
Feminism?
Yeah, feminism. The idea that men and women are equal and can...
I know what feminism is.
Right. Anyway, I sucked it up and persevered, and that film was a blockbuster success.
I hope I can get a job like that someday.
Well, work hard, and who knows? You might wind up in The Help or something.
She flips her hair. It gets caught.
Oh my God, my head just sweats under that wig. It's so nappy now. How do you deal with yours?
Your hair's not nappy.
Yes, it totally is.
No, it's not.
Feel.
No, thank you. I don't.
Feel it.
Sue gingerly pets Kelly's hair. Kelly buries her fingers in Sue's.
See, it's totally the same. God, I might as well be Black, right?
Well, you are playing an African, so...
We're all Africans, sweetie. It's the cradle of the human race.
Wow.
Are you getting all sassy on me? Because I can throw shade too. Nuh-uh, honey.
I should go.
Nonsense. Come sit with me. We'll spill the tea like Nicki Minaj.
I'd really rather not.
You can be my Black China.
Sue begins to exit.
Wait! I can get you a part in my next film. I like you. I've never had a Black friend before. and you're really cool. I don't have a lot of friends, actually. In this industry, there are so few people you can trust. Everyone wants to take. They never want to give. I want to give something to someone freely, out of my own heart. And I believe in you, whatever your name is.
Sue.
I really do. I saw you out there. You were really good. Like, really, really talented. And I want to support that.
You do?
Yes, Queen. What are you making now?
As background, 170.
For what? 10 hours? And what are you doing after this project's done?
Nothing. Probably going back to waitressing until the next gig.
Where you make
$5.50 an hour plus tips, so $9.
Ew. I can get you a better gig than that.
Really?
Sure. This one pays so much more, it's not even funny. And you become union, which means standard breaks, humane conditions, health insurance. You even get to use the union bathroom. And it's total Oscar bait. It might even become a speaking role if you play your cards right.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
This is so great. We're gonna have so much fun on set. What's your Instagram?
She types in her handle. Kelly snatches her phone back, holds it up, and drapes herself over Sue, pushing out her butt, puckering her lips, and throwing up a fake gang sign. Sue awkwardly throws up a sign as well. Kelly takes the picture and looks at it.
Oh, we look so cute. Now let's filter, Photoshop, and hashtag big booty bitches, hashtag hot sauce in my bag. You're gonna get so many followers now.
So what's this new film anyway?
It's the bravest of the braves. It's Western.
Oh, cool. So we'll be gunslingers?
No, Indians.
But I'm not.
Girl, just straighten your hair, throw on some feathers, and nobody will know the difference. I'm gonna go tanning. You should stay out of the sun, BT-dub. You're way too dark. And I will dye my hair too. Besides, I'm like 132nd Cherokee, so I got you, boo. Oh, and I'm gonna be in a wheelchair?
Lights fade to black. End.
Oh my goodness. I always enjoy that piece, and it is such a delight to hear it being read by this incredible cast. That was again Minnie Ekpo, Miyako Gavia, Takai, and Melvin Cox. Thank you so much, y'all. Such a treat. And that was all Queens, written by Miyako Gavia. As we move on, we can head right into this next presentation. This next piece is entitled You're My Last Little Girl, May Mobley. And it's Ujama, who will be played by Ikemini, and the stage directions will be read by Miyako Gava. Thank you.
Setting: a church basement, recreation center, or other public meeting place. Literature, coffee, and cookies are on a table. At Rise, a Black woman in her early 60s sits in a folding chair at a gathering much like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. A professional in her field, she wears slacks and a blazer with African fabric for accent. She wears a hand-printed name tag.
Who me? I'd rather not. Okay, sure. Hello, my name is Ujamaa. Oh, hello. What was that? That's right. Ujamaa, like one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. I am a former employee of a PWI, a predominantly white institution. I have been in recovery for almost a year. Let's see where to start. Well, by the time I graduated from high school in the 70s, The way had been paved for me to have a dream, to cast my vote unimpeded, and to ride the second wave of feminism, which included women of color. I believed I could achieve anything if I got my education, worked hard, and played by the rules. We had our own holiday, Kwanzaa, and oh yeah, Black was beautiful. Fast forward 40 years later, I reluctantly walked into a psychiatrist's office to determine if I should take medication for depression. You see, I was diagnosed with persistent depressive disorder with anxious distress, currently mild, and panic disorder. I had been seeing therapists on and off over the years, but this was the first time I had been to see a psychiatrist. It was explained to me that the reason was because psychiatrists can prescribe medication and therapists can't. I asked to be referred to a Black psychiatrist, but there were none. I couldn't believe I had to bring yet another white mental health professional up to speed. The doctor got right down to business, asking, "So, what brings you here?" The truth is, it was a lot of little things that happened over time, but I summed it up in one sentence. There is nothing beautiful about being Black in America. I told her that aside from the blessing of family and the measure of success I had created by pulling myself up by my own bootstraps, my life had been a series of disappointments in response to obstacles both visible and invisible. I told her that for a long time, I thought it was my fault, that I wasn't good enough, didn't jump high enough, or run fast enough. She said, "That's interesting. Tell me more about that." So I told her about one of many incidents that happened at the predominantly white institution where I had worked. I had been appointed project manager for an event that would bring greater visibility to the institution, furthering its good works in the Black and Brown communities whose mission it was to serve. There was less than a handful of people of color at the institution, so I was doubly honored to have been selected to lead the project. And because there was no clear path for advancement, I secretly hoped that more responsibility might portend a promotion with more pay and better benefits. Despite the event being just a few short months away, I was confident that with a strong team in place, the event would be successful. I asked for volunteers from among my coworkers and ended up with a team made up of all white women and me. Warning lights started flashing in my amygdala, danger, danger, but I ignored them, thinking, we're all professionals here. It'll be fine. I looked forward to working with my team, and things got off to a great start. We each volunteered to take on various tasks central to the success of the project. I thought it went without saying that as the project manager, I was the bottom line. But as the project got underway, things started happening that made me wish I had made it plain who the bottom line was: me. For example, in preparation for our meetings, I would send out the agenda with a request for progress reports. The team never seemed to be prepared to report on the tasks they themselves had voluntarily taken on. Instead, they found a way to pivot, asking me about the task I was working on, how it was going, if they could help me by taking it off my hands. More than once, I had to thank them for their concern and assure them that I knew what I was doing and could handle it. If I proposed an idea, it was dismissed. But later, that same idea would be reintroduced as if they had thought of it. Members of the team often talked amongst themselves, making decisions without consulting me. And by not copying me on emails, they withheld critical information from me. I was on a need to know basis, and I was the project manager. It was clear that my team, A, had no intention of ever reporting to me, B, did not know how to take direction from a Black woman, and C, didn't know how not to be the boss. All of this made me feel like I was not trusted to do my job. I took my concerns to the higher ups, thinking I would get their support because, well, they're the ones that had appointed me the project manager. I thought they might, I don't know, maybe give guidance to my team on how to share leadership at the organization. That would have been helpful, but instead I was blamed for bringing my concerns to them. I was accused of being brazen, impolite, and out of line. I found myself getting more and more upset, mostly because I felt I was not being heard. I knew better than to raise my voice, though. The last thing I wanted was to be labeled an angry Black woman. I had seen this movie play out at my previous PWI, but had stayed quiet. This time, because of the awareness of bias raised by the Black Lives Matter movement, I somehow summoned the courage to suggest that perhaps the reason for their treatment of me may be because I am Black. Now, why did I go and say that? They were beyond insulted, accused me of being paranoid. After all, I had been given the project manager position, hadn't I? Instead of seeking to understand the harm that was being done to me, my coworkers went on the offensive, protecting and comforting each other. White women shedding their white tears, saying I was being unfair, and loudly rejecting the idea that racial bias might just be a part of the organizational culture. I was bewildered, unable to wrap my head around how their bad behavior and disrespect was my fault. I was effectively put in my place again. I think that's when I first realized it was time to go, but I couldn't. I didn't have an exit plan in place. I vowed to stay on until I could figure that piece out, but it was hard to put an exit plan together under such duress. I was anxious and started second guessing myself. I had panic attacks. I overate at lunch and often needed to stop for a drink, a Bloody Mary, after work to decompress before heading home. I was so stressed out that once I got home, I found I had little patience for my family, snapping at my spouse and kids for things I wouldn't have before. Despite what was happening to me, somehow, through God's grace, I kept my eye on the prize. I was buoyed by the greater good that would be done for the community that the institution was serving, a community I identified with. I know I sound like a martyr, but I was determined to see the project through to completion, and I did. The event was a huge success. Members of the community even said so, thanking me personally. And more importantly, we raised a lot of money for services. But you wouldn't have known it from the lackluster response of the higher ups who were acting like it was no big deal. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. I quit. And that's when my recovery began. It is only now I have come to understand that my former PWI chose to uphold and protect the existing power structure over protecting me. It is only now I have come to understand that my inability to achieve whatever I had hoped to achieve in this lifetime by this age wasn't all my fault. It is only now I've come to understand that everything that happens in our country, from the cradle to the grave, supports and sustains institutionalized racism. It is only now I've come to understand that racism has an impact on the mental health of Black people in this country. No matter how many firsts we have achieved or how much progress we have made, it is only now I have come to understand that it's not always big dramatic events like lynching or police killing unarmed Black people. No, it's a lot of little things that happen almost daily and add up over time, over generations, even things that happen to your mother and your mother's mother and your mother's mother's mother are all passed down to you. And one day you're in your 60s, traumatized and in a psychiatrist's office discussing dosage. You're my last little white girl, May Mobley. Viola Davis said that in The Help. Well, she didn't say the white part. I put that in there, but that's what she meant. I am kicking the habit of working for, raising up, sustaining these May Mobleys, these predominantly white businesses, organizations, and institutions. I'm submitting applications to Black-owned businesses now. My name, Ujamaa, has come alive for me. To build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. And, oh yeah, I'm making Black beautiful again through education about the disease of racism. I now have the language to talk about what I have experienced, to name it, to call it out.
She holds up a box of tissues with the words "white tears" written on it.
Now, it's your turn, white folks. It works if you work it. So work it, because America is worth it.
End.
Thank you so much, Kimini. That was "You're My Last Little Girl Named Mobley" by Yvette Heiliger. Read so beautifully by Kimini Ekpo. Thank you so very much. This is a piece that was entered because we're always looking for writers, young, older, middle-aged, what have you. This is another great opportunity to have your work read by talented actors like Kimini Ekpo, just as she did. We thank you so much for lending your talents, Kimini. And also, Yvette, thank you so much for sharing your work with us. This is what we here at Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop is all about. And we can continue to see where this piece goes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As we move forward in our evening, we're headed to our third piece, written by Heather Harvey. This piece is entitled Not Yet. The character of Chris will be read by Takai. The character of Ruby will be read by Akimini. The waitress will be read by Miyako Gavia. The PA will be read by Melvin Cox. And I will be reading stage directions. Establishing shot. A fresh-faced young Black woman with a bright red flower in her natural hair waits on the stairs in front of the Union Square Park.
Excuse me, miss. Are you Ruby? Ruby Watson?
Oh, are you Chris?
Yeah, I hope I'm not too late.
A sound, a resounding church bell.
No, you're just on time.
Cut to the inside of a restaurant.
Okay, same time?
Same time.
All right, and this one's a deal breaker for me.
No pressure then. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Dogs.
I'm glad I got it right.
Me too.
Can I interest you two in some dessert? We have a fabulous peach cobbler.
I could go for some blackberry cobbler.
1 spoon or 2?
2.
Cut to Chris and Ruby walking down the street, arm in arm. They pass a bodega with a flower display.
Oh, 1 second.
He darts in and returns with a bright purple flower. She beams at him. Cut to the next morning. Ruby is asleep in bed. As the floors creak in another room, she stirs. She looks over and finds the bed empty before padding out to find Chris with his headphones in, following a YouTube tutorial on how to make blackberry pancakes. Cut to Prospect Park. They jog together. Chris stops abruptly, doubling over and panting.
Just one small breather.
Ruby jogs in place while Chris begins to stretch out his hamstrings before collapsing on the ground.
Burns so much.
Go on, you can make it.
No, go on without me. Tell my story to your children.
If you keep on running, I'll...
She whispers something inaudible in his ear. Chris jumps up.
Second wind, meet Ruby. Ruby, meet second wind.
Cut to that same small NYC apartment. They lay intertwined in each other.
This is easily the best 50-hour first date I've ever been on.
I've had better.
They laugh. Chris turns and kisses Ruby. Her eyes pop open, wide and glassy.
Chris.
Chris pops to his feet and stares. Sound, an espresso machine. Chris turns to look over his shoulder and looks back. The bed is empty. He follows the sound into the living room and finds Ruby. Her hair is long and wavier. She smiles and walks over to him and hands him a latte.
Spoil me.
Not as much as you spoil me.
Why don't I make you dinner? I know this great butternut squash dish.
You can't cook your way out of this.
Mr. Wilson.
Not yet.
Sound, an espresso machine.
Not yet.
Ruby's back in the kitchen in her sock feet, making herself a latte.
Are you okay?
Let's get you that butternut squash.
Mr. Wilson.
Open. She begins to breathe rapidly. She shakes his arms.
Mr. Wilson.
Ruby screams as blood streaks down her thighs.
We're losing him. We're losing him.
Mr. Wilson.
Ruby laughs from behind him. He turns, sees Ruby sitting with a baby.
You're my miracle.
Mr. Wilson.
Not yet.
Not yet. Chris, go stand next to Junior. Let's get a picture of Mr. Football Champion and his daddy.
Miss Wilson's neural map can't maintain link. Her brain is deteriorating too quickly. Prepare for emergency extraction.
There are many Rubies. One mourns her miscarriage. Another teaches their son to walk. One from their first date and looks at him with concern.
Chris, are you okay?
I just want to say,
Mr. Wilson.
Chris sees a slightly older version of himself standing in a tall suit.
after our first date, I knew I wanted it to be the last first date of my life.
3,
Please, not yet.
2,
Ruby stands on her tiptoes and kisses him.
I do.
1.
We're jerked through a distorted field and the focus clears on a hospital floor.
Mr. Wilson.
The nurse steps into frame and helps Chris sit up. He's a much older man now, and Ruby, also older, is catatonic before him on a hospital bed.
Mr. Wilson, her mind just can't.
I know. Just give me a moment with my wife.
The nurse leaves, and Chris presses her forehead to Ruby's. End of episode. Oh, once again, that was Not Yet by Heather Harvey, read by Melvin Cox, Kimini Ekpo, and Dekai McCullough. Dekai, I want to make sure I get your last name correct, brother.
Oh yeah, you're saying it right, McCullough.
Yeah, McCullough, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Melanated Mondays, presented by BRTW. We again thank this talented group of artists for being here with us tonight. Of course, you've heard 3 wonderful new plays, all regarding sex and erotic capital, and we're looking to have a really great discussion with Phanésia Pharel, who is tonight's speaker. Phanésia Pharel is a playwright from the great state of Florida, and even greater city of Miami. Dade County is in the house. Grounded in poetry and Afrofuturism, she often writes about the divine metaphysical dilemma of colored girlhood. Her plays spawn revolutions, islands, and explores futures built on love by centering women's pleasure, safety, and joy, AKA hopeful and magical survival stories for the young, poor, women, colored, and those audacious enough to be all of the above. I really love that. Without further ado, we really appreciate having her and sharing her expertise tonight. Thank you so much, Phanésia.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. We just gonna chit chat.
Yeah. Phanésia, I guess the first thing I would like to ask, the first thing I would like to ask you is, can you tell us more about your writings, your plays, and your intent and your process, and I guess your experience into this moment in your life, and tell us a little more about yourself.
Absolutely. So, I grew up in Miami, Florida, and I'm the daughter of an incredible Haitian woman named Marie Katsia Theodore Farrell. She's a writer herself. She writes a lot of children's books, Afrofuturism pieces about Haiti. And so, growing up, I was fortunate enough to have an understanding um, of Caribbean women's literature. I grew up reading Edwidge Danticat. I grew up reading Julia Alvarez, and my mom would have this book club that I would go to where they were just reading only Black feminist texts. And I was just like 12, or no, I wasn't even 12. I was a baby. I was like 6, 7, all the way until I was about 12 years old. My mom would bring me, and I'd be in the back room listening to different women speak about their perspectives. So, kind of always having I've always been interested in stories that center the perspective of women, and as I've grown older and come into my own understanding of womanhood, it's been really exciting to write stories from that perspective, right? So when we're talking about things like homelessness, when we're talking about things like gentrification, how does it affect a mother? How does it affect a Black mother? This is where my mind goes when I think of stories. Um, and it took me a while to realize that about myself, that above all else, I'm really interested in the intersection between race and gender. In For Colored Girls, Ntozake Shange says, being colored and being a woman is a metaphysical dilemma that I have not conquered yet. And I think it's one of the greatest lines of all time. And I think for the rest of my life, I will be exploring that metaphysical dilemma, the joy and the complications that come with it. That is really the root of my journey as an artist.
I hear you. You are sitting on some incredibly powerful shoulders. Thank you so much for thank you so much for sharing that with us. We can feel your own power, your own spirit. Thank you so much. I would like to kind of ask you a couple of questions here. And one, just kind of going into it, given the ways in which Black people have navigated various social gazes and the pressures to be our performed selves in order to be our embodied selves, how do we navigate the balance of choosing community and individual connection? What are the pleasures of being imperfect? Black writers and media makers are often pressured to trauma mine in order to create works that are validated by predominantly white institutions. How do we center creation and desire in art making, and by extension, liberation?
I may ask you to repeat the question at certain points
Oh,
because
of course.
it's huge and I want to make sure I'm mining every point. I'll speak honestly. I rarely ever share that my mother is a writer because then people have an assumption that the stories I tell, because I tell a lot of stories about where I'm from.
Mm.
Um, so I wrote one of my plays, Black Girl Joy, is about a group of young Black girls in a Miami homeless shelter. It's about their story, right? But when I was 13, I was housing insecure. And I was also brilliant. And that's what the play uncovers, right? Is there's this idea that there's a difference. There's the Michelle Obamas, and then there's I'm trying to find the right person. Um, there's the Megan the Stallions, the Cardi B's, right? This is what society would want us to think black women are, black women and girls are. When the truth is, most of us are both. I'm sure that, you put on a, I'm sure if we looked at, Michelle Obama doesn't release her yearly playlist like Obama does. He keeps releasing it. Nobody's asking. He keeps, he keeps releasing it. But I'm sure if Michelle Obama released her playlist, there would be some Cardi B on there. Okay, she can throw down. I know that's right. So, most women, right? There's the Madonna whore dichotomy that women face in the world, right? But then I think for black women, there's an added pressure because there's social messaging of um, so many different things, right? There's the welfare queen, there's just so many things that we're going up against, right, in terms of messaging and how we may internalize these messages ourselves and an added pressure. And the truth is, both can exist at the same time. And so I love Dominique Morisseau's approach to this. She's, there's as humans, we like to overcorrect. So we have one era where you have playwrights like August Wilson who are worshipped for telling our stories and holding, telling stories that are dramatic and hold a deep amount of trauma. And then there's like, we're seeing these theaters only, beg writers to trauma mine. And so there's a movement for only Black joy. And Dominique Morisseau says, well, there's joy, there's joy while acknowledging your truth, right? We don't have to not acknowledge our truth. And so it's holding both of those things, right? It's because that's actually where we can understand our situation as Black people in America, right? When you're saying, I can't, my mother immigrated to this country at 10 years old from Haiti. She was the first in her family to go to college. She got into Harvard University. She chose to go to Tufts, go Jumbos, and she's a brilliant woman. All of that, right? She experienced severe racism, yada, 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 and we still ended up in poverty despite that exceptionalism story. And that's how I tell the stories that I tell. So I still understand both truths, right? I know both sides. And I think that we need more people to just own their truth and own their stories. And I think that also it requires compassion from audience members. I remember when For Colored Girls came out, there were some people who were saying, I don't want to see this, it's too traumatic. I'm so sorry, you don't get to say that because Ntozake Shange, okay, did not suffer the way she suffered when For Colored Girls came out for you to say this. She paved the way for so many people, okay? The only reason my work ever gets the time of day is because of everything Ntozake Shange, Dora Neale Hurston, Toni Morrison, and all of these people put through. So you don't get to say that, okay? Because I'll tell you something, white people don't talk down on Shakespeare, so you ain't gonna talk down Ntozake. So I think that we need to have a level of compassion for the people who came before us because they were writing from a particular time, right? If you grew up in a time where as a woman, you couldn't even get a credit card without your husband signing off on it, you are going to write For Colored Girls. You are going to write Fences. Like, people are writing from what they know. I'm going to write from what I know. So I think we need to have a level of openness and compassion. We do need to call people out. I love that about our community, is that we call people out when they go too far, they do something stupid, or they're trying to coon. But I think that I think there needs to just be a higher level of compassion and say, I may not understand this, but I know this writer is trying their best, because it's never going to be perfect. Edward Albee, one of my favorite playwrights, says this about his own work. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. So when we expect perfection out of other Black people, we're asking for something that isn't real and isn't possible. But I think we can hold each other accountable and have conversation. So let me get off my soapbox.
Wow, that I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. I think one of the things that just resounded from just responding to what you just said is compassion. In that conversation, I never hear that word, compassion. And that was something that just definitely grounded me in that understanding. So I thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I want to open up what you just kind of shared with us to our cast and community here. If you guys have any responses to Phanésia, please, or any questions based on her insights just now, please.
Hello, thank you for just coming in with so much knowledge as well. Something that you said stood out to me so vividly, and it was people need to hold not only us but people as well, just audiences looking in, hold Black writers to the same level of whatever it's the same as Shakespeare and beyond. You know what I'm saying? I think that's another reason too. A lot of Black playwrights are not getting the light that they should, is because it's not held to the caliber. When, if you think about it, if you don't have Black writing, nothing in this world is really changing. You know, everything stemmed really from Black people and their writing and their creativity and their joy and their beauty. You know, so what you said really, really just opened something up, because as a Black artist as well, we need to hold these people as well to that standard as well. Wherever we go, we have to make sure that we are highlighting our Black playwrights and making sure that we are promoting our Black playwrights and holding them to high regard as well. So thank you for that. That was lovely.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And it, when time is a flat circle. A couple months ago, I wrote something along the same, I think, line of inquiry about what do Black artists do when we're asked to mine our trauma to make content, and what does that mean when we're in a society that isn't necessarily invested in dismantling racism, which is where a lot of Black artists' trauma comes from. And I and it makes me think about like in addition to finding being able to hold our joy and our truth together at the same time, it also makes me think about, like, as artists who are seeking to make a living out of art, we're always beholden to capitalism in some way. And I also wonder how we as artists protect some part of our artistic selves from the force, or like the impulse to have to like monetize, like financially benefit, gain and benefit in some way. What can we save for ourselves, for our own, like, what do we make that is just for like our own intrinsic pleasure as an artist, or as a person?
I have my own perspective, and I think that, it's only my perspective, but there's a multiple prong answer. I would say, from my perspective, is that you don't have to share everything with the world. There are plenty of, whenever a great artist dies, people always excavate because they know there are pieces that they kept just for themselves. So if you're writing, there might be poems. I wrote a whole poetry book that no one will ever read. It was just something I wrote for myself in high school. And you have those pieces for yourself, right? But then I also think that there's community spaces, where you are sharing your work, and you don't, it's outside of the industry. One of my favorite people, Regina Taylor, who's a brilliant artist, she does both. She's on a TV show with Viola Davis. She's winning awards. She has a piece at the Signature Theater, but she also works with collectives of community artists that she knows and she trusts. And that's where she also works on pieces for her soul. So she taught me that. I asked her a similar question in panel, and that was her response to me. And I think that's a very helpful response, is finding time for both. I also don't think, your day job has to be in the industry, because as artists, we have so much to contribute in multiple ways. I mean, I think the world would be a better place if there were more, Chekhov was a doctor. That was his day job. It's not framed that way, but he would work as a doctor during the day and then he would write at night. And so I think that if your source of money is a different source of joy, that's also exciting. And then when I say going back to community, I like to serve the community as a way. In terms of, I'm a mentor with Vibe Theater Experience, I'm a teaching artist for young girls of color. That fuels my soul and it fuels a part of my artistic practice that's really exciting to me because um, Dominique Morceau says this all the time, we're in a tradition and you're passing something and someone passed it to you and you're passing it to someone. So that to me is artistic fulfillment. But you never know what your piece is going to be that people will resonate with. I'm sure I don't think Michael R. Jackson thought A Strange Loop was going to get him a Pulitzer Prize, a Broadway show, an A24 deal, and all of this stuff. It kind of doesn't serve you to even question, how am I going to make money from my art? I would just say, make the art, put yourself out there, do good work, and see what people resonate with. Because I actually disagree. I think the world is interested in Black liberation. I think there's a lot of people who want to be on the right side of history. They just don't know how. And I think that our art can show them that. I actually believe there's a lot of really wonderful people in the world who are fighting demons every day. There's a lot of really great men who don't want to live in a society that oppresses women. There's a lot of great people who don't want to live in a racist system. There's a lot of able bodied people who don't want to see disabled people suffering. So we just need to listen to each other and we need to keep creating. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty much my response to that question.
I think that was like a really good question and a really good response. And like that is like kind of like a struggle, like even like making art or whatever, like writing, whatever. It's like, when does it become like, all right, I'm struggling, I need some money, let me, versus like just the joy of it and like the fulfillment you do get by doing it, and especially like completing it or the process of it. Like, I think we do have to go back to that like first, because I think that's what makes great art. Just like not thinking about all the like external like things. Just make your art because it's in your mind and that's what you want to do, and you have this certain thing in your brain that's just like, I have to do this as a person, so
And yeah, really quick.
You.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead now. No,
Or really
please.
quick, just responding to I'm sorry, brother.
Kai.
Hold on. The Kai, yes, sorry, bro. To what I'm finding in this season too, because I've been there as well. It's going through life, it's like you go through life and you experience so many things and you're still experiencing things. And it's the pressure of life that pushes the art, if that makes sense. It's like you go through so much and it's like, I gotta get it. I have to put it out. I have to put it out. And when it comes to art, it's like your baby. And it's like, oh, I don't know what people are going to say. I don't know what, but I've learned the older I get as well, is that, art is art, no matter how you look at it. Put out your art. It doesn't matter what people say, because like she said, it's going to resonate with somebody. And you never know that you put it out and it bites, and it, think about Issa Rae, this woman started on YouTube. She started her show on YouTube. Nobody was checking for Issa. And she just kept making it. And she built a community and started working with the people around her and pulling from the resources around her as well. I think as a community, as well as a Black community, we need to start doing that, networking to the left and right of us. We need to start pulling like we're doing now. Like, it needs to be more. We need to have like a building pot of just brilliant Black people that want to network and want to put out art as well, So
I like that.
Yeah. It's the time. And I feel it in the energy. I feel the spirit. Like it's time for us. It's time to make it happen. It's time.
Yes, indeed. Um,
Yeah.
Nessie, I wanted to thank you so much, Melvin. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
You're absolutely right. Just one more time, can I get, you said a building pot of brilliant Black artists?
Yes, a building
Yeah,
pot of brilliant Black artists. And we're all brilliant.
I love it.
I think people need to understand and encourage each other to their brilliance as well, too. We fall, we mess up, we get things wrong. But when you have somebody that's grabbing you by the hand, like, listen, try it again, go right again, go back to the drawing board, do it again. Let me see it. No, that's not right. Go do it again. We got to learn how to trust people with our gifts as well to help us, So that's where I am, and I'm excited about this journey that I'm on. So I'm excited that I've met you guys as well. So.
Speaking of brilliant, Vanessa, there's a line here that also resonated with me, and I was wondering if you had the time. I know we're in the interest of
Oh
time.
yeah.
Could you elaborate a little more on it? This says your play span revolutions, islands, and explores futures built on love by centering women's pleasure, safety, and joy. Just that there, I'm intrigued about, and I was wondering if you could speak to us more on um, where that came from you and how it came. It's such a powerful statement.
Oh, thank you. Um, I guess I'll break it down bit by bit. So, being Haitian, I'm the daughter of the women of the Haitian Revolution, and that spirit lives in me. And I think that it makes me who I am. That's the people that I come from. Then it spans islands, so oftentimes I write from a Caribbean feminist perspective because that was what I was raised on. Revolutions, we're constantly in a revolution. A lot of my work right now, I recently wrote a play called Rhythm and Belshun, and it investigates um, it it investigates it's inspired by I'm trying to find the right way to frame it. Oh, ask a writer to talk about their work and you're gonna have them talking in circles. um I Rhythm and Belshun investigates um I grew up listening to R. Kelly is what I'll start by saying. And I also remember when the video of Chris Brown came out. That was a very difficult day for me because I loved Chris Brown and the Juicy Fruit commercial and all of that. So when I saw the whole Rihanna abuse, it was a shocker. And that was the day that a lot changed for me. And since then, I've been very interested in, it's been a community, it's a Black community conversation of what is the culture and the music we're consuming and how does that relate to gendered violence. And Rhythm and Belshun is a play that investigates that from both perspectives of a girl growing up today um, who is working for her uncle's Black owned record label, and going through the archives, and what does she find. That's that's a that's its own revolution, right? Black women demanding a different kind of music, from themselves and from the community. um, a revolution in terms of how we interact with those in our lives, right? Because I do believe, I'm a big believer in intersectionality. So freeing disabled people will help everybody be free, right? So freeing women will
Hey,
everybody
hey,
go free, right? So that's where I start. And when I think of at the core of all of my work, I'm trying to investigate what does a world look like where we truly love, because we wouldn't do a lot of the things
mm,
we do if we loved ourselves and we loved each other. It just wouldn't look like this. We would live in a very different world. We would have very different priorities. I love you too much to have you do that. My mom wouldn't let me watch TV on weeknights because she loved me and she wanted me to develop an imagination. She wanted me to read books, right? If we loved each other, we would put boundaries in place around certain things. So that's centering love, pleasure, and joy. But also, I put women's pleasure and joy because even though I tackle these really dark topics, um, there's always joy at the center of my work because um, I do believe joy is what makes us human. And when it comes to women's pleasure, I'm very interested in the Madonna whore dichotomy that women are constantly experiencing. And I think we would live in a different society if we just centered women's pleasure a little bit more. And that doesn't necessarily mean sexual pleasure, it means pleasure in terms of us being happy and not always in servitude of other people. Why do I see every time I see a play about a woman or a story about an older woman who did something good for the world, she was serving other people and she wasn't happy on her own? Why do we always have to do things for other people to be seen as good? I don't know like, I don't think about Alexander the Great's servitude. I think about the things he accomplished and what made him happy. Why can't we say the
Mm.
same for other women, for women in history, right? So these are the questions that swirl my mind, and plays are about asking questions as opposed to getting answers. So these are the questions I'm constantly mining in my plays and in the different scenarios.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for uh, unpacking that more for us to help us understand. We really appreciate you. As we move forward, I want to pose this question to Phanésia, excuse me, first, and then I wanted to open it up to the community here. Um, this is a little more in the interest in talking about colorism, texturism, sizism, and classism. If we are to achieve a future where society hierarchy and desirability doesn't rule our imagination or our desires, what will shift about pleasure, as you were just speaking of? And please take your time. Um, that's just something to see what will change, what will shift, what will shift. And you were just kind of elaborating. We would probably all be happier if we centered women's pleasure.
Just a little bit more, right? There's a darkness to the conversation about colorism, futurism. Um, there's a really interesting trend. What is her name? She was in um, Queen and Slim.
Ooh,
Jody
the leading
Jodie Smith.
actress.
Jodie Smith.
Turner Smith. Jodie Turner Smith is her name, right? She's absolutely beautiful woman. Dark skinned black woman, 4C hair, probably experienced futurism too. And when the movie came out, people were clowning her because she is married to a white man, and she posted on Twitter, "A white man was the first to make me feel beautiful," and nobody knew how to handle that because that is a very loaded thing to say. I mean, a lot of people are like, "What do you mean?" And people were very, very upset with her. And she was speaking from her experience, right? And I find it interesting because, in 2022, I'm on the app TikTok a lot. There's a lot of TikToks, and I stay out of this. It's not something that I have a lot of stuff to think about. This isn't something that swarms my brain. But since we're here and we're having the conversation, um, it's complicated, right? Because on social media apps like TikTok, you see people berating women for their features and speaking down on people, right? And it's wrong. It's just wrong, and we all know it's wrong. But there's something dark about receiving pleasure from downing yourself, from
Mm,
saying, I, as this race person, I'm not saying Jodie's doing this. She's not doing this at all. This is not in regards to Jodie. This is more so in terms of the people who down other people, because she wasn't downing anyone. She was speaking her truth, right? I feel ugly, so
mm,
I desire the opposite of me. That's not love. Love is, there's a connection here, there's a conversation. You make me feel warm inside. I feel safe when I talk to you. That's at least love to me, right? And so for Jodie, it makes sense that a white man who has privilege in the world and has an image and is seen as the standard of masculinity and is seen as the standard of everything good, right? That for him, whoever he desires is not really up for debate.
Mm.
What are they gonna do? What are they gonna say to you? I'm a white man. What you gonna do? You see the way these little white frat boys run our country? Like, what are you gonna do? So, of
Yeah.
course, there's no limit to their desire, right? And they can see how naturally beautiful we are. But some people who do not love themselves, who are not free, cannot love themselves in other people. So we don't only see this on the heterosexual side. Michael R. Jackson writes about it in Strange Loop on the queer side too. I've heard many Black queer people talk about this, about how we're seeking whiteness and we're erasing ourselves and our desire, right? If you're Caribbean, you know the term cleanse the bloodline. This is something people say. This is something Haitian people have said. This is something people in my family have said. We want to cleanse the bloodline, right? You don't love yourself. That's, I think, where it starts. Because your desires would truly be free if you loved yourself. It wouldn't be so dark. This is dark and disgusting that you're not free. For me, I have work to do on loving myself because it is very hard when you grow up in a world where there's negative images all the time, right? We're all experiencing that as Black people. But I can say I don't have a type. My type is love. It's a connection. I've dated nerds, I've dated this, I've had crushes on all kinds of people because it's a connection, it's a love thing. And desire also changes. It's a little deeper, it's a little bit richer. It comes from the mind and the heart as opposed to wanting to feel powerful or wanting to feel valid through someone else. That's not going to happen because then you're objectifying. And men do this to women in general, this concept of a trophy wife and, you know, a symbol of beauty, a woman as status. That doesn't make you worthy. You were born worthy.
I love that.
Yes.
That was really
Yes.
good. I agree like 100%.
Yo.
We honestly do like, yeah. No, whatever you just, I'm not even gonna repeat. Like you just said it like to the T. That was perfect. Thank you.
No, please, Dekai, if you have anything to respond to, brother.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's right. Like we do like you have to love yourself first. Honestly, you have to. Or you'll get stuck in this like you'll never like truly like know what you desire. You're just desiring stuff that basically you think that other people desire. If that makes sense, or that other people will like, you know, see you as like, I don't know, it's so hard to explain, but yes, it's I don't think it's a lot of like true love anymore. Everything is like an image and this and like it is kind of hard to just like sit down for like a few months to a year and just like find yourself and like, you know, and I'm working on that too now. I just like graduated college and all that. I'm about to move back to New York and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give myself 1 year, just focus, lock in on the Kai. That's it. And I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing. Like you said, just you have to do it though. It's like something that is so weird and hard, but I think you have to do it. And it will like help you turn out to a better person, I guess, and like find like true love and all that eventually. So yeah.
Yeah, brother, you are right. Thank you so much for sharing that. Ekimini?
Every time Phanésia talks, it feels like I just keep on smiling because it feels like every like response is like like you can hear the mic dropping in the distance. Like I don't have any, like there's nothing to add. There's nothing,
I
there's
feel you.
nothing additive I could say.
We thank you so much. Yeah. I don't have, I mean, yeah, that was a big mic drop moment. So we don't really have many more questions for you. We thank you for your time this evening. But what I will ask you is, where can our audience find you, whether it be virtually or in real life, or what we can come see some of your work, be a part of some of your work, help with some of your work, or just, you know, you're such a incredible human being. How can we be better fans, I guess?
I'm honored. I'm so honored. Thank you all for holding space. I'm simply channeling, and I'm fortunate enough to have the wisdom of so many of our ancestors. And I think that's what we need to do is to keep in light the truth of our ancestors. Reading Bell Hooks is all about love really challenged the way I view love, and really changed the woman that I am. And I want to say too that um, I it's not easy, any of it, particularly holding yourself. Wearing the hair that I do, short um, and natural, um, sometimes I see the way people look at me, but I also have to look at them and think, that's very sad that you can't see how beautiful I am because you're wrapped into the matrix. You're not in the reality, you're not in the truth, because the truth is everyone is beautiful, every
Mhm.
culture, every people. That's what makes the human race so special, is that there's so much variety and there's so much beauty in that. To want to see the human race one way, it's very sad and it's very pathetic. Um, and so owning your difference and owning that you even being on this earth is something that really is rare. I mean, the statistics of it is just insane. It could only make you believe in magic. So to keep up with me and my work, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Phanésia. It's just my name. If you just type my name, I upload my plays to New Play Exchange where you can read them. Feel free to shoot me a message. You can also send me an email. I'm pretty accessible if you want to connect over anything. It's just my first name, Phanésia, no accent, at yahoo.com. Just shoot me an email. I'm always around. And I'd love to plug Vibe Theater Experience, a wonderful nonprofit organization that I work with that serves girls of color nationally from 13 to 24. We provide free accessible arts programming. That's another great way to be involved with me and really just to share this resource, because there are so many young girls of color who want to be involved in the arts or who need to be because it's freedom. I first found playwriting at 15 and it saved my life, and I was going through some serious stuff. So I just would love to provide that resource to the community. And just feel free to just hit me up at any time. I'm not as serious as I was during this call now. Y'all just got me on the deep topics, and I'm a Cancer. I can be deep, but you know, I'm just like, I like astrology, I like cooking, I like fashion. So, if we don't just have to talk the deep stuff, we can have fun too. So, I'm so sorry. Last thing, I'm just rambling at this point. I have a play happening this week through the serials at the Flood Collective. That will be very fun. And I also next week will be presenting something with Charlie Chaka at Playwrights Horizons, just a small reading. So feel free to, if you follow me, I post everything that I have going on. So on Instagram mostly. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a wonderful conversation. I love the work that you're doing, and this is incredible.
Of course. As we sign off here, can we ask you one more thing? What's one action item that you feel from your experience that we can all do, particularly in our community, our Black community, that we can do to, I guess, in your regard, find that balance that you were talking about to heal and to move forward into the future? What is one thing that we can take into the future that will be tangible and real for all of us and help all of us no matter how big nor small, as we sign off here?
I think looking at the past.
Hmm.
We don't enough. We're very distracted. I'm very distracted. I'm always on TikTok and just scrolling through. We're on our phones, we're doing stuff, but we need to remember the past. I always feel very empowered when I go to museums, when I go to the Schomburg Center, when I am rereading a play. Alice Childress always makes me feel like I'm ready for the future because her work is so sharp. Um, so I would say reading, going to a museum, examining the past together. I think that's a great way to equip ourselves is remembering where we're from.
Examining the past together. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, being a part of this conversation. It has been so eye-opening and insightful. It is every time, but we are so thankful. This has been so fruitful for our hearts, minds, and spirits. I do want to remind you guys that this is BRTW. We are thebrtw.org. If you would like look to donate any funds that you might have lying around or any funds that you might have sitting around, that would be so helpful to extend to all of these lovely artists that you see here tonight, more workshops, playwrights, and all of the above. We have a podcast on all of the podcast platforms such as Apple, Spotify, and Audible. And we are developing a new Revolution Now program coming to the end of this year. We thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. This has been another edition of Melanated Mondays presented by BRTW. And we really thank Phanésia Pharel, excuse me, for joining us tonight. You have been such a treat. Thank you.
Thank you so much.